And then because times are tough, and they are hugely tough, I have spoken a lot in the past about the development dividend, about how it is that through CSI and through other partnerships, what you put into a project with your partners is bigger. It has a development dividend. It gives you a return. Today, we have to be worrying less about development dividends and much more about protecting development capital. Any investor knows that. When times are tough, companies don't pay dividends, they preserve the capital base. And by that I mean you've got to invest in your partners and in their sustainability. Don't push them too hard. They can't cope at the moment. And too much pressure that isn't properly costed will see the demise of some extraordinarily important centers of knowledge and capacity and change making. And so what I'm saying is it needs a different kind of strategy. We can't all be innovating and adding new value and creating new impact. We've got to consolidate, because the times will come when we need that capital. And if we frittered it away, we're going to all be the poorer for it. There was talk about brokerage skills, critical. Get out there, trade and deal make with the best of the NGO projects. And if you can't help them, and they're really deserving of partnership and support, find somebody else who can, or work with somebody else who can. So what I really want to say is there's some huge sustainability challenges that we share across the NGO corporate social investment divide, which are sustainability challenges in the sector. The first is we're becoming at risk, perhaps, of the McDonald's of development, where everybody is just producing Big Macs. They look the same, they taste the same, they're made the same way, and they're not terribly nutritious. And it is hugely ironic how often, and I speak with great respect to my corporate partners and friends, corporates talk about the uniqueness of their approach and how different it is. And you know what? From this side of the fence as an NGO, it's exactly the same. The branding is just a little bit different. So we've got to be careful. We've got to be careful. We've got to preserve diversity and novelty and enrichment. Spoken before, again this morning, I won't dwell on this, about do we start big and then filter down to small, or do we do what Roger's done in Port Elizabeth, start small and sell it to the big? And there is a danger globally that we're going to marginalize the small players, and it's going to become big business and the global branded NGOs doing all the development. And we need those guys, but you and I know as organic indigenous South African NGOs, what works in Norway doesn't always work here, and we need to be translating that. So it is a marriage of big and small. And again, I would re-emphasize the point that if you want to reach out into areas of the greatest need, it's not by exporting the project or the program and dumping it in the veld and hoping that it's going to get traction. It's by finding the people and using and harnessing the people energy and growing them into the project. We've spoken about putting the organization first, and the fact that focusing on the organization, whether it's corporate or NGO, adds an extra filter and removes you just a little bit further from where you want to be and who you want to be working with. The transactional costs of partnership and funding and talking to each other are massive. I know this from having run Chikalulu Social Investments, overwhelmed. How do you cope? And I know it from the funding side. How do you get in? The paperwork, the applications, the timeframes, the transactional costs of actually finding each other. We don't know each other, are massive and are handicapping what we can do. And are any of us strong enough, courageous enough, honest enough to admit when we've done the wrong thing and to share the bad as well as the good? And it's hard because you think that's going to lose you funders, you think it's going to lose you credibility. It isn't. It's going to strengthen the sector massively.